Hi, and thank you so much for being here. I'm really happy you decided to spend a few minutes with us today. Before we begin, just make yourself comfortable. There's nothing you need to do, just listen and relax. You can pause the episode anytime, repeat parts you find useful, or shadow the speakers if you'd like to practice speaking. And if it ever feels too fast, don't worry, you can always slow it down. Whether you're listening with your headphones while running, driving in your car, or going about your day, this podcast is designed to be easy, calm, and stress-free. In today's episode, you'll hear a conversation between Andrew and Kate. They will be talking about essential, real-life English for travel, the practical phrases and expressions you need when eating at a restaurant, shopping, checking into a hotel, asking for directions, or renting a car in an English-speaking country. Your English will improve naturally, one listen at a time. So take a deep breath, stay relaxed, and enjoy the conversation.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. This is the place where we take all that complex information out there and we really just boil it down to the essential nuggets for you.
Exactly.
You're here to gain knowledge fast, and today we're giving you a real shortcut to confidence. We've got this fantastic source material. It's a lesson designed specifically to brush up your English-speaking skills for travel.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today is to pull out the most essential, the most real-world phrases to make sure your next trip to an English-speaking country is, totally seamless, confident, and, most importantly, free from those little language mistakes that could just ruin your day.
It's the perfect mission, really, because we're not aiming for some kind of theoretical fluency. We're talking about situational fluency.
That's situational fluency. I like that.
Yeah, it's about taking what you know from a book and actually applying it on the street. And what makes this source so good is that it comes from a language teacher who, she fully admits that she herself felt lost on vacation. She realized she just hadn't practiced enough of that situational vocabulary.
I love that honesty. It just goes to show it doesn't matter how many verbs you can conjugate. If you don't have the right phrase ready, when a restaurant host asks you a simple question, you feel that flush of embarrassment.
Right.
The teacher in our source, she said she felt smacked in the face with the realization that she was just unprepared for these quick little transactions. And we are here today to build that preparation for you.
Precisely. And we've organized this deep dive into 4 absolutely crucial travel categories. We're focusing purely on actionable knowledge, and we're going to give you the context for why these phrases work better than others.
Okay, so what are they?
So we'll start by navigating eating out, which is, a pretty high-stakes social and transactional environment. Then we'll move on to shopping and retail transactions, mastering those quick greetings. After that, we cover hotels and accommodation, just making sure that check-in process is smooth.
And finally, we have a critical bonus deep dive. This is so essential if your travels involve, a lot of road time in the U.S., which they often do. We're talking about renting a car.
The big one.
Oh, yeah. We are going to break down all that tricky financial jargon that rental agents use just to make sure you are never gypped or, surprised by a massive final bill. So get ready to arm yourself with the confidence to handle pretty much anything your vacation throws at you. Okay, so let's dive in. We have to start where every traveler starts. The restaurant. You've just walked into a busy place, say in the U.S., and the first person you meet, the host, they're going to need information from you immediately.
And their question is going to be quick and direct. It'll be how many, or maybe a little more formally, how many people are in your party?
And right there, that's our first little trap, isn't it? The word party.
Oh, absolutely. This is our first cultural linguistic distinction. When they say party, they just mean your group size.
Yeah.
It has absolutely nothing to do with a celebration or a special event. For a lot of people, party means balloons and cake.
Right.
But in U.S. service language, it's just the standard operational term for, a group of people dining together.
Yes.
Just understanding that one word removes so much hesitation.
That's a huge point. It's just shorthand. And in a busy restaurant, if you hesitate, you're slowing things down. They just need a number.
Yeah.
And they need it fast. So how do we respond quickly and, more importantly, politely?
Politeness is everything in these interactions. The phrase you need is pretty flexible. The source gives 2 really solid options. The polite standard is, I'd like a table for 4, please.
Simple.
Or, and this is perfectly fine in a more casual place, can I get a table for 4? The key structure is always a table for your number, and you just deliver it with that polite please or thanks.
Perfect. Okay, so now you're seated, you've got the menus, and in the U.S., menus can be overwhelming. I mean, dozens and dozens of items. You have no idea what the restaurant is actually good at.
Right. And this is where you need to use your server. They are basically your immediate on-the-ground expert.
So you shouldn't be afraid to ask for help.
Not at all. Do not be shy. Just ask, do you have any recommendations? That phrase is so valuable because it does three things at once. One, it signals to the server you're engaged and you're open to suggestions. Two, it pretty much guarantees you'll find out what the restaurant's specialty is, the thing the chef is really proud of. And three, it just encourages a little bit of a human connection with the staff.
But let me push back on that for a second. Is there a risk that they'll just recommend the most expensive thing on the menu?
That is a fair question. And it gets to the heart of the service culture. While, you should always be mindful of cost, generally speaking, the service culture in the U.S. values the customer experience very, very highly.
Because they're working for tips.
Exactly. Servers rely on tips. A bad recommendation that leads to a bad meal threatens that tip. So, overwhelmingly, recommendations are honest attempts to guide you to something you'll actually enjoy.
So what if you are worried about the price?
You can just follow up. You could ask something like, is that one of the more popular dishes or is it a specialty? That's a great way to get a little more information without directly asking about the price.
That's a great clarifying question. Okay, let's talk about dietary needs. This is an area where, American dining has really evolved. Being specific about allergies or what you can't eat is no longer awkward. It's totally expected.
Oh, the level of awareness in U.S. restaurants about different diets is very high. You can, and really you must be specific. If you're a vegetarian, you just ask, are there any vegetarian options? If you're avoiding gluten, are there any gluten-free options?
But the source makes a really critical distinction here. It's the difference between a dietary preference and an actual health issue. And that linguistic difference, it matters a lot.
Yes, this is so important. If you have a serious medical allergy, you have to use strong, unambiguous language. You switch from asking a question about options to making a declarative statement.
So instead of asking, you're telling.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You say, I'm allergic to gluten, or I have a severe nut allergy. That immediately signals to the server and the kitchen that they have to follow strict procedures to prevent cross-contamination. That little switch in phrasing from a question to a statement is absolutely key for your safety.
And a lot of times, menus will help you out visually, right? You'll see those little symbols.
Mm-hmm. A little V for vegan, or that common G with a line through it for gluten-free. That visual cue saves a lot of back and forth, but if you're ever in doubt, just ask. Always, always ask.
Okay, now for something that feels like a hallmark of the U.S. dining experience, customization. You can change your dish, but you need the right words to do it efficiently.
You do, and we need to master one little verb, hold.
This is a classic linguistic trap, because hold usually means to keep something.
Right. But in a restaurant, it means the exact opposite. When you tell a server, can I get the cheeseburger and hold the lettuce and tomato, you are telling the kitchen to leave it off, to omit it.
It's jargon, but it's efficient.
It's super common, it's fast, and it's precise. But if that feels too jargony, or, you panic under pressure, there's an easy alternative.
Which is?
You just say, can I get the cheeseburger without the lettuce and tomato? Both phrases get the job done perfectly, and it's completely normal behavior. Nobody will bat an eye.
Okay, speaking of things that are profoundly American, the portion sizes.
They're enormous.
Huge. So don't feel like you have to clean your plate. You need to know how to manage the leftovers, which there will almost certainly be.
And for that, you need the to-go box.
Mm-hmm.
You might sometimes hear the cute term doggy bag, but the formal, professional, and, universally understood term is to-go box. And this is a crucial phrase for getting your lunch for the next day.
So how do you ask for one?
It's simple. Can I get a to-go box, please? Now, the procedure can vary. Sometimes the server will take your plate to the back and pack it up for you.
For hygiene reasons, I guess.
Exactly. But more often, especially in casual places, they'll just bring you a clean box and you pack it up yourself at the table. Either way, it's expected, it's polite, and it's very economical.
Okay, let's get to the most culturally sensitive part of the whole dining experience.
Yeah.
The end of the meal, the payment. This is where etiquette really, really matters.
And we have to talk about tipping. It's not optional, it's basically mandatory, because in the U.S., tips make up the majority of a server's income. Their hourly wage is much lower because of that.
So ignoring the tip isn't just cheap, it's sending a very strong message.
A very strong message of disapproval, or just ignorance. The standard tip for good, attentive service is between 18% and 20% of the bill before tax.
and for just okay service.
You really shouldn't go below 15%. If the service was truly terrible, you might leave less, but that's rare, and it usually means you should have spoken to a manager earlier. The key cultural point is you're tipping on the service, not just the quality of the food.
So how does a traveler calculate 18% or 20% quickly when the bill comes?
The easiest trick is to find the tax amount on the bill. The tax is usually around 8% or 9%. If you just double the tax, you're automatically in that acceptable 16% to 18% range.
Oh, that's a great tip. No pun intended.
And for slightly better service, you just round that number up a bit. A lot of the newer credit card machines will even calculate the percentages for you, giving you options for 15%, 18%, 20%.
Okay, incredibly helpful. Now, let's address the final request. Asking for the bill itself. The source flagged a huge linguistic mistake here.
Yes, this is where movies have done travelers a massive disservice. If you are done eating and you want the bill, you must avoid the short command. Check, please.
Why? It seems so efficient.
It is efficient, but efficiency without politeness in a service interaction comes across as rude. It's too demanding, it's a command, it lacks the softener phrases that American English relies on so heavily.
So what's the right way to say it?
The polite, universal, non-negotiable standard is, "Can I get the check, please?"
Wow, that little addition, can I get... It just changes everything. It turns a command into a polite request.
Exactly. It shows respect for the server's time, and you can make it even better, as the source suggests, by adding gratitude right away. "Can I get the check, please? Thanks."
Yeah.
It just makes the whole transaction smoother and ends your meal on a really high note.
Okay, moving seamlessly from the restaurant right onto the shop floor. Whether you're in a huge department store or one of those little independent boutiques, a mom and pop shop as we call them, you are going to be greeted probably immediately.
This is a standard part of the retail social contract in the U.S. The staff are trained to acknowledge you and see if you need help. The opening questions are usually quick and friendly.
Like what?
"Hi, welcome," or "Are you looking for anything? Can I help you?" Or sometimes a little more specific, "Are you looking for anything special?" or "in particular."
And if you're like me, a lot of the time you just want to browse in peace for a little while. So you need a graceful way to exit that conversation.
The easiest and most common response is, "Just looking, thanks." Or you could say, "I'm just browsing, thanks." This is the universal phrase that basically says, "I'm okay for now, but I appreciate the offer."
And it's important to say it with a friendly tone, right? A little smile.
Absolutely. The tone is key. But the source gives a more advanced technique for people who want to be even clearer. It's called mirroring their vocabulary.
Okay, what does that mean?
It's a clever way to make sure they understand your intention perfectly. So if the staff asks, "Are you looking for anything special?" you respond, "No, I'm not looking for anything special. I'm just looking."
Ah, so you use their exact words back at them.
Exactly. By using their words special or in particular, you signal that you understood them perfectly and your answer is definitive. It gently and clearly tells the staff to, get off your back and let you browse without any pressure.
Okay, now let's flip it. You actually do need specific help. You're moving from browsing to actively asking for something. What's the best language structure for that?
We really rely on two adaptable phrases. First is the statement of intent. "I'm looking for."
Okay.
Our source is a great example. "I'm looking for some special chocolate to buy as a gift." See how specific that is. It's not just chocolate, it's special chocolate for a gift.
That clarity helps them narrow down their suggestions right away. And what's the second option?
The direct inquiry, using the question structure, so for example, "Do you have any scarves in blue that are made of silk?" Or, "Do you have any special chocolate that I could buy as a gift?" It's just the most efficient way to ask about their inventory.
Okay, let's talk about clothes shopping. The source stresses that trying things on is really common in the U.S., and this is a contrast to some cultures where fitting rooms might be, really restricted or just not available.
You need two key phrases for this. When you're holding the item of clothing and you want permission to take it to the changing area, you ask, "Can I try this on?"
And then you need to get access to the room itself, which we call a dressing room or a fitting room.
Right. And that phrase is, "Can I have a dressing room?" Sometimes the staff will give you a little plastic tag with a number on it that corresponds to how many items you're taking in. It's just a standard procedure. And that phrase gets you into that crucial space.
All right, let's move to the actual transaction. The U.S., it runs on plastic, credit and debit cards. The source notes that Visa, MasterCard, they're accepted almost everywhere, even in those little mom and pop shops.
It's super convenient for travelers, but you still need to ask, especially if you're not sure. to say, do you take credit cards? You can look for the logos on the door, but asking is always the final check.
And what about that little financial wrinkle the source mentioned, the minimum purchase?
Yeah, that's often because of the transaction fees the shop has to pay the bank. Small businesses sometimes need you to buy a minimum amount, maybe $5 or $10, to use a credit card.
So if you're just buying a $2 bottle of water,
They might politely ask for cash or ask if you want to buy something else to reach that minimum. Just being aware of it prevents any surprise at the register.
but let's plan for that rare scenario. The shop is cash only, and you're suddenly without cash.
You need to know the name for the cash machine, and the official name is the ATM. That stands for Automated Teller Machine. You have to have that acronym ready.
And the question to ask them.
Is there an ATM nearby? And the great thing about shops that only take cash is they usually know the location of every single ATM in a 5-block radius because they get this question all the time.
That's a great point. Okay, a crucial cultural note here related to shopping is sales tax. In the U.S., the price on the tag is almost never the final price.
This is a huge shock for so many travelers. The price you see is the pre-tax price. When you get to the register, a percentage, and it varies from state to state, could be 5%, could be 10%, is added on top.
So the takeaway is when you're calculating what you can afford, always mentally add a bit more for that tax.
You have to. It means the checkout staff will say a price that's higher than what was on the tag, and you need to understand why that is.
Absolutely essential piece of knowledge. Okay, last thing on shopping. Let's imagine the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You find the perfect item, the perfect gift, but you can't buy it right now. It's too big to carry or you're short on funds.
You need the vocabulary to look at future options. You ask them 2 questions. First, do you have a website?
And then the follow-up.
Do you offer international shipping? These 2 questions open up the global marketplace. They can turn a missed opportunity into a future purchase. And you'd be surprised, sometimes small shops that don't advertise international shipping will do it if you just ask politely.
All right, our third key area of travel vocabulary, accommodation. We want to ensure a smooth check-in whether you're at a big hotel chain or, meeting an Airbnb host.
The front desk interaction needs to be clean and efficient. If you've booked a hotel in advance, you walk up to the desk and you state your purpose and the name on the booking.
What's the phrase?
Hi, I have a reservation under your last name. Using your last name is the standard way they find you in the system.
And you need to be prepared with 2 required items. What are they and why do they ask for them?
You'll need your driver's license or passport for ID and your credit card. And they often need the credit card even if you've already paid for the room in full.
And why is that? That confuses a lot of people.
It's because the hotel will place a temporary hold on the card, usually $50 to $200, to cover what they call incidentals.
Let's define incidentals for everyone.
Incidentals are any extra charges you might have during your stay. Things like room service, anything from the minibar, pay-per-view movies, or, any damage to the room. The hold is fully refundable if you don't have any of those charges, but you must have a card with enough available credit to cover it. If you don't, the check-in process will just grind to a halt.
Good to know. So have those ready before you even start talking. Now, what about the more adventurous travelers, the ones booking on the spot? Maybe they arrived late or they just decided to stay an extra night.
For them, the flexible framework is key, and that phrase is, I'd like a room with. This structure lets you plug in all of your specific needs.
Can you give us a few examples? Because the names for rooms can vary in the U.S.
Sure. U.S. hotel rooms often refer to queen or king-size beds. So if you're a couple, you'd say, I'd like a room with 1 king bed, please. If you're a family, you might ask for a room with 2 queen beds. You have to be specific about the number and size of the beds to make sure everyone fits.
And it's not just about beds, right? It's about accessibility and where the room is located.
Exactly. You use the same polite structure for special requirements. You can say, I'd like a room with elevator access. Or if you don't like heights, I'd like a room on the 1st floor or the ground floor. This polite framing communicates your needs clearly without sounding demanding.
Okay, so you're checked in, you're settled. Now the hotel staff or your Airbnb host, they become your most valuable local resource. This is where you shift from transactional English to informational English.
And the first essential question is simple, but it's often overlooked in our digital age. Do you have a map?
A physical map.
Yes. A physical map, Even a basic local one is an invaluable backup for when your phone battery dies or you lose your connection. Plus, local maps often highlight places that aren't on the big tourist apps.
And that leads right into asking for their recommendations.
Right, you want to ask about specific categories. The phrase is, do you have any recommendations for food and attractions nearby? But a really effective tactic is to ask follow-up questions about their suggestions.
What do you mean?
So, if they recommend a local diner, don't just say thanks. Ask, what time is the best to go? Should we try to avoid the lunch rush?
Ah, that's a great conversational deep dive.
Yeah.
Asking about the timing shows you're actually engaged with their advice.
It does, and it helps you avoid the common mistake of showing up when a place is mobbed or even closed. It just builds that positive rapport.
Okay, last thing here. Navigation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not driving, if you're relying on public transport or just want the most efficient route, how do you phrase that request to get the best local advice?
You ask, what's the best way to get there? Or the slightly shorter, how do I get there? The key word here is best. You're not just asking for directions, you're asking for the optimal logistics.
That word best is really doing a lot of work there.
It is. It signals you're open to alternatives. Your phone's mapping app might just tell you to drive or take a taxi, but the local host knows there's a new express bus or a scenic train that's faster, cheaper, and avoids all the traffic. Asking what's the best way invites them to share that invaluable insider knowledge.
Okay, we have arrived at our crucial bonus section. If you're traveling in the U.S., especially outside of the big cities, renting a car is pretty much a necessity. And this is where the speed of the transaction and all the financial jargon can make a traveler feel completely overwhelmed, or, as our source put it, gypped.
Yeah, the rental agent's goal is to move things along quickly and, let's be honest, often to upsell you on all sorts of packages. Our goal is to arm you with the specific vocabulary you need to slow that conversation down, understand the costs, and negotiate effectively.
So this is about protecting your wallet.
It really is. And avoiding being overcharged comes down to mastering about 5 crucial financial terms.
Okay, so before we get to the money, let's start with just asking for the car. The source said doing some research beforehand really matters, knowing what kind of roads you'll be on.
Yes. If you're going to be on mountain gravel roads, you need a different car than if you're just driving in the city. So once you know what you need, your request should be clear and should specify the duration.
So what would that sound like?
Something like, I'd like a small sedan for 5 days. Or, if you need more space, I'm looking to rent an SUV for 5 days to hold 6 people and luggage.
Now, what if they try to upgrade you? Or maybe they offer you a car that's too small. You need to be able to negotiate the size right then and there.
You use the flexible sizing question. Do you have that in the specific size? So if the car they offer is bigger than you want, you ask, do you have that in the compact size? Or, do you have that in a mini size? Being precise about the size is key to managing your costs, because bigger cars cost more to rent and use way more fuel.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, the financial terminology. The agent is going to speak quickly, so you have to know what to listen for. The first term is the deposit.
The deposit is a refundable security hold, but it can be a pretty substantial amount of money. I mean, it can range from $100 up to several thousand, depending on the car. The key phrase you need to listen for is, deposit required, but it will be returned to your card as long as the car is returned in good condition. That word refundable is everything.
And the essential question the traveler has to ask, just to confirm the amount.
How much is the refundable deposit? This prevents that moment of panic when they swipe your card and a huge hold appears on your account. And it's also a good idea to ask how long it takes for the hold to be released, because sometimes it can be a week or more.
Good tip. Okay, next up, we had to spend some serious time on the difference between the rate and the total cost. This is the #1 source of surprise fees.
It is. The agents are trained to lead with the lowest possible number, which is the daily rate or daily cost. This might be, $35 a day, but that number is basically meaningless.
Why is it meaningless?
Because it does not include mandatory taxes, state fees, airport surcharges, or insurance. It's just the base price of the car.
So when the agent quotes you that low daily rate, the immediate, essential counter question has to be,
what is the total cost? This is the non-negotiable question. You need the final all-inclusive number. The total cost includes the base rate, all those fees and taxes, and whatever insurance package they've probably already added on.
Let's break down what those hidden fees and the total cost usually are so people can recognize them.
Okay, there are a few standards. First, the airport surcharge or concession recovery fee. That's an extra percentage just because you're renting at the airport. Second, state and local taxes. And third, look out for unlimited mileage. If they don't mention it, you have to ask, is this unlimited mileage or are there restrictions?
Oh, that's a good one. Because if it's restricted,
It can cost you a fortune. Exceeding the limit can be 50 cents or more per mile.
wow. Okay, now let's tackle the biggest financial variable of all, insurance. This is where you can save or lose a tremendous amount of money.
This is so critical. You'll usually be presented with two main types of insurance you have to understand. The first is the collision damage waiver, or CDW. Sometimes it's called a loss damage waiver, LDW.
And what did that cover?
That covers damage to or theft of the rental car itself.
Okay, and the second major type.
That's supplemental liability insurance, or SLI. This one is much more serious. This covers damage to other people or their property if you cause an accident. The mandatory liability coverage required by the state is often very low, so SLI boosts that coverage. The agent will push both of these very hard.
Okay, so here's the negotiation tip. You have the total cost, it seems high, and you think your own credit card might cover you. How do you push back on the insurance to bring that number down?
You should use a phrase that's a little bit challenging, but still polite. Something like, is there any way to bring that total cost down? And when they ask why, you state, I believe my credit card provides collision damage waiver coverage. Can I decline the CDW package?
That is powerful. By using the specific term, CDW, you show them you know what you're talking about. You're signaling that you're not an easy target for the upsell.
Absolutely. And if they still insist you need liability coverage, you can ask for the minimum mandatory SLI that's required by the state, not the premium package. The conversation should be driven by you asserting the coverage you already have, not just accepting their default package. And please, confirm with your bank before your trip what coverage your card offers.
Okay, finally, the return process. You need to know where and how to handle the drop-off smoothly.
There are two interchangeable verbs for this, return and drop-off. You'll hear agents use both. They might say, you can return the car to this lot, or drop it off at Terminal B.
So if the instructions were too fast, or you're running late, you need to use those verbs to ask for the location.
Where should I return the vehicle? Or where should I drop off the car? This clarifies the physical location and makes sure you don't get charged for a late return or for leaving it in the wrong place.
And what if you planned a one-way trip? Say, picking the car up in New York and leaving it in Boston.
Then you have to confirm that second location, which usually costs extra a one-way fee. You ask, is there another location that I can return or drop off the car and city name? Confirming this in advance is mandatory. Dropping a car off at an unapproved location can lead to massive penalties. You have to know your final drop-off spot before you drive away.
Wow, what a fantastic, detailed set of tools we've put together today. We have thoroughly covered those key scenarios, eating out, shopping, accommodation, and that really important financial deep dive into car rental. We've given you the exact language you need to manage these daily travel situations with, I think, complete confidence.
We really have. We replaced all that abstract vocabulary with functional, applicable phrases. You now know that crucial difference between the rude command, check please, and the polite request, can I get the check please? You've mastered the jargon of customization with the verb hold. And most importantly, you know how to protect your wallet by focusing on the total cost versus that misleading daily rate. And you know how to negotiate those really expensive CDW insurance upsells.
It really is all about minimizing friction and maximizing the joy of your vacation. It's about making sure you never have to pause every 5 seconds to translate complex situational language in your head.
And as we finish this deep dive, let's just take one step beyond the transactional language we focused on. I mean, mastering how to order food and rent a car is essential, but true confidence often comes from navigating the unspoken cultural rules.
We touched on this a little bit with the servers and politeness.
We did, but there's a broader set of etiquette rules that govern how people interact in the U.S.
So what's the final provocative thought here that can build on the confidence we've given everyone listening?
Well, if you master the mechanics of transactional English, you can successfully do business, you can buy things, you can get from A to B. But for a truly successful and respectful travel experience, you have to consider the language of interaction. For instance, our source material notes that certain topics that are perfectly polite in other cultures, like asking a new acquaintance about their salary or politics or even deep details about their family, are often seen as taboo or invasive in the U.S.
Ah, so it's not just what you say, it's what you don't say.
Exactly. So the challenge is this. Are you prepared not just for the vocabulary of buying, but for the vocabulary of behavior? Do you know which specific conversational boundaries might be just as critical to avoid as saying check please loudly in a busy restaurant? That awareness, that's the final essential key to truly confident global travel. Think about that next layer of cultural navigation as you plan your journey.
Thanks for listening. If this episode helped you, like and subscribe to How to Learn English podcast and keep practicing your English. Until then, take care and see you in the next episode.